Hey, well, good evening, everybody. It's Dave coming to you from the dog yard here in Southern Maryland. It's 7:30 on, I don't even know what day it is. Saturday. Probably about 98 degrees out right now. It was 102 for a while, so I guess we've really cooled off to 98. Typical Maryland swamp weather. It's probably 90 or 95% humidity out here. So yeah, these are the worst 3 months of the year for me in Maryland. I try to be gone as much as possible from about mid-June to mid-September. I just don't enjoy it. Um, but we'll make the best of it while I'm here. Be here for, I don't know, a couple weeks maybe, and then I'm going to go back to Wyoming for 4 or 6 weeks. The more time I can not spend in Maryland, the better this time of year. I'm going to show you the dogs. There's 3 of them. Chance laying down, rolling on his back. Echo under, not sure what to do, and there's Sasha. Finn is over at the horse farm with the girls, trying to teach him to be a horse farm dog. Echo never did make that cut, so she spends a lot of time over there. Wow, so I'm tired today. Just to say that up front in case I feel weird on the video. We had some mishaps coming home yesterday, which we'll talk about, but we didn't walk in the door till about 1:30 last night, so kind of about 5-6 hours of sleep, and then just up doing stuff today, so a little bit tired. Today I'm smoking black Cohiba Black. Comes in its own tube. It's cedar line, as you can see. This one's a little dry, probably. Nope, I guess not. Anyway, I thought it would be because I've had it in the green bag for 10 days, but I haven't even cut it yet. So I'm going to punch it with my tool. Use the large punch side. Drill it in there. It's a little dry. It's a little crackly, which is my fault. Nice and punched, ready to go. So there we go. Lit nicely. Draws great. Not too dry. That's the first time I've tested that tube. These individualized tubed cigars with those cedar liners, I have to say, must work well. Because this has been laying in the bag in its tube for almost 2 weeks. So kudos to the individual tube cigars. Great retro help. Cohiba Black, great stick. One of my, hey, look at that. Truly something I enjoy. Yeah, I would put it up there with my Churchill late hours. I can't tell you how freaky it is in a couple days to go from literally 21-degree mornings and 31-degree mornings to 102-degree evenings. If I haven't been clear, I much prefer the cold mornings and the cool evenings. So we picked up Sean on the way home. Potter Piper and I flew from Jackson Hole to Denver and picked up Sean on the way home. And then Denver to Albany, dropped off Potter Piper and Jilly, and then Albany to Baltimore BWI, and then drove the hour home. So we have all 4 of us of the family here in the same house for the first time since since New Year's, really. I think like January 3rd. It's literally been 6 months. Yeah, a few things give Amory and I joy is to watch our 2 adult kids interact. They truly love each other. They call each other, they text each other all the time. And then when we all get together, they are truly best friends. So that's something that feels very good. So we'll talk about the trip home last night. We'll get the bad story out of the way. truly, the only bad part of the trip was flying home when we were wheels up out of Jackson at about 1 p.m. yesterday. And the pilot had warned us that the air traffic control was going to keep us pretty low across the mountains and into Denver. And so when we took off, but we never got above about 300 feet. We did a couple of U-turns, and it just felt so unnatural. And the next thing we knew, I was saying, hey, I think we're landing. We might have been in the air about 10 minutes, and we landed back at Jackson. So pilot tells us that the plane had several automated flight control errors, and that we were headed through a bunch of storms on the way to Denver, so the plane wasn't qualified. If you have any pilot training, we did not have VFR conditions all the way to Denver, and his plane was no longer qualified for IFR, or instrument flight ratings, regulations. So we couldn't fly VFR or IFR, so the plane was grounded. And the company I fly with is FlexJet. They're all the same. FlexJet, NetJets, Wheels Up, they're all the same. So they've all over the commercial. If you think there's any real problem with the economy, what's weird is their private air is at the highest usage it's seen in over 30 years. So the companies are glad to sell ownership and leases in jets, but they're not expanding their fleets and their crews at the rate that they're selling them. So what happens is they overfly their planes, and they overfly their crews, or they fly their crews right to the FAA flight limits. What that means is the system is pretty much trying to operate at 100 to 110% capacity at all times, every day, every week, which works fine until it doesn't, until a pilot gets sick or an aircraft has an unexpected failure. So they told us, not the pilots, you never yell at pilots. You never yell at pilots. It's not their fault. So the ops guys tell me we're going to have to sit on the ground and wait for 4 or 5 hours for another aircraft. This is when there's 2 FlexJet aircraft sitting literally 50 yards from us on the tarmac. In full view of Potter Piper, I had what could be called a moment. I think I've explained to you guys on the previous videos that there are several people in each of us. I'm no different. There's a version of me that I don't like to get out very often. I don't like him. I leave him in the closet as much as possible. I liken it to, we walk around in life with a toolbox, and you want to use the right tool for the moment. And for a long time, I used to get out the claw hammer or the ball peen hammer and just beat the shit out of where it was wrong in front of me. Inappropriate way to live, but effective sometimes. So I don't think I got the ball peen hammer out. Even Potter Piper said I suspect that was a minor event, which it was, but I did lose my shit on him. Dropped a few F-bombs, told them they sucked. The company used to be great. I don't know what happened to you. I've got 2 FlexJet aircraft sitting right next to me, and for some reason you're trying to make me wait 5 hours. Well, I'd say within 5 minutes of me hanging up on that, the pilot walks back again and says, hey, ops came up with a good idea. We have 2 aircraft sitting right here. We're going to go ahead and let you guys use one of them. I said, wow, that's a really nice idea. I'm glad they came up with that. So instead of a 4 or 5 hour delay, we were essentially a little bit less than 2 hour delay. So We needed to change planes in Denver. It was actually Rocky Mountain. We went into the regional airport. Going into Denver International is a total pain in the ass if you fly private. The taxi, once you've landed, the taxi from the end of the runway to the private airport is like 30, 40 minutes. It's crazy. So we had to change planes at Rocky Mountain, but when we landed, the plane we needed was already sitting there, and my son was already sitting on it. They pulled our jet up right next to it, and the new pilot's like, "Hey, I understand we kind of dicked it up, man. We're fueled and ready to go." We were probably on the ground 10 or 15 minutes, and we were off to Albany. In Albany, the pilot said, "Hey, did you guys order catering?" I said, "No, we didn't order any food for the flight." They said, "Well, they sent you this whole box of food." So I think it was the company trying to say, "Hey, we messed up." But so it all ends with we got Sean picked up, Potter Piper and Julie got dropped off. Sean and I and Sasha got to Baltimore just about 2.5 hours later than we were supposed to. But Crimea River, huh? Oh, the poor boy flying private had to wait a couple hours. So that's how the story ends. It would have ended much different though if I hadn't gotten the other guy out of the closet and beat the absolute shit out of the operations manager. And I did it right in front of Potter Piper. So anyway, that ends the bad part of the story. The rest of it's pretty damn good. Actually, one more fact. So one of the facts that helped me operate in a different mode, sent me over the edge, made me have my moment, was our poor original pilots. The two guys, they were on the phone with a maintenance engineer, and we could hear because we're still sitting on the airplane. Because actually, sitting in the airplane is the most comfortable place to sit. I mean, if you go into the little airport, it's a mess. So we just sat there and drank their booze and ate their snacks while we waited. But you can hear them because the cockpit's only right over there. And you can hear them on the phone going, "Well, why don't you just look at all the pictures I sent this to you about this last week?" Yeah, this plane had had this avionics problem for over a week, and they still had not even brought it in to be evaluated. They kept trying the classic computer problem. They kept having the pilot just reboot the plane, hoping it would go away. So not only did it cause me a problem and my friends and family, but this is a problem that had been known for a week, and they just hadn't bothered to take the plane in to get it fixed. So it really helped me lose my shit. So I self-admit you don't want to go down that road very often, but I will admit I'm extremely good in that mode, and it's an extremely effective way to make changes occur. All right, now I'm done with that story. Yeah, and so the story now ends with all four of us are at home in the same house. I got Sean home for at least another week. Got Lauren home for about another 6 weeks. Everything's going great. Sasha was an angel. All the dogs are good, so nothing to complain about. Just a little bit tired from the delay, but other than that, story ends well and life is good today. So I want to jump back now. You guys, some of you watched the videos that Potter Piper and I put out over the last. It was an 11-day trip. They were long videos. Some of them weren't, but the the real meaningful ones, the real conversations were like, I think we had 3 or 4 that were an hour long each. So it's a huge commitment on your part to watch them. I certainly realize that. But the 11 days was an amazing time. I'm pretty sure it came across that way, but when you're out doing kind of having this amazing experience, sometimes it's hard to get it recorded because you're busy enjoying and loving life. Okay, there's echo for you. And so there were many times when we had the discussion about should we be recording this, and Potter Piper had a really healthy philosophy. He says, I don't want to live my life through the lens. I want to experience it. So there was a lot of, hey, this one's too good to record. Let's just experience it. This one is sometimes looking at it, sometimes recording it, sometimes looking at it, sometimes recording it. Sometimes it was just old fashioned looking through the phone, recording it. So that's why we didn't do a lot of videos. We caught most of the wildlife we saw for you. The bull elk on the property was a pretty rare event for me. The cow moose on the property is something I've seen before, but this one hung around like I've never seen before. I don't think we caught the coyote. He showed up a few times, but he was elusive. He didn't like our attention, and he really was, I think, a little bit afraid of Jilly. Speaking of that, let's talk about Jilly for a minute. Jilly is one of the kindest, warmest, playfulest, happiest dogs I've seen in a long time. He and Potter Piper have a great relationship, but he wasn't sure there was any play in him, and he was worried about how Jilly would interact with Sasha, and it turned out to be a kind of a magical 11 days. I mean, I saw Jilly was so kind to her. She was such a pest. She pestered him into playing, and eventually he ended up loving it. There's really no people around as long as you make sure there aren't any big wildlife around. We just let them run free on the property, and it was really fun to watch. So I know at home, Potter Piper has to really kind of keep him on a short leash and be nervous about him coming up to other people, but we didn't have to worry about that. We even took him downtown. We took him into the lounge twice, and he was pretty fabulous in the town, in the lounge with a bunch of guys. It was really fun to see Jilly kind of be himself. That was really fun. Great dog. I'm um, I'm just so happy that Potter Piper brought Jilly on the trip. So the other thing we saw a lot of were bison herds, both up in Yellowstone Park and then down pretty close to the house, within about 3 or 4 miles of the house is what's called Antler Flats Ranch. And it's this huge flat pasture on both sides of the highway, and there was probably 500 to 1,000 bison out there on any given trip through them. We had to drive. You got to drive through that herd on the way to and on the return from town. So just about every day we saw the herd, and then when we went up in Yellowstone, we saw another herd. Well, we almost caught, but really didn't think of it till too late. Was there were two or some of the buffalo? They're in my vid. A couple of the buffalo were literally up against the road. I mean, literally 1 foot off the road, so you were close to these things. And they largely ignore you. They don't particularly care about you or your car. I mean, they're just so big. When the big bulls are in control of their life, they don't care. You're not the apex predator, that's for sure. When we were up in Yellowstone, we actually saw um, two ladies trying to walk up to him, and we were kind of traffic was moving slow, so I didn't really think about it, but we should have pulled over because I'm pretty sure there was going to be a buffalo incident. And Potter Piper said, "Man, we should have caught that. Because we recorded bison so much, it would have been interesting to record an incident because there's so many with tourists. I mean, they call them Taurons, tourist morons. You know how many signs you have to ignore that say don't approach the wildlife, don't pet the bisons. I mean, you have to pass probably 10 or 20 of them before you actually touch a bison. So I have no sympathy for people who get hurt petting a bison. But we came close to actually being there, I think, but by the time any incident occurred, we were half mile or a mile down the road. So but that was one that we passed up that I wish we hadn't. Our afternoon and evenings were great. Potter Piper's a bit of a foodie and a true cook, not just what he shows on his videos, but he truly is a great cook. So we did a 5 restaurant tour. The 5 I wanted to get him into, we got into all 5. Had 5 great dinners out in town, and then he cooked the other 4 or 5 nights. So what a gift to have that guy cook my dinners. Couldn't believe it. You heard on every one of my videos. I mean, we truly hit an 11-day jackpot on the weather. We had clouds partially obscuring the mountains for like a couple hours on one day, and the rest of the 10 days were, I mean, pretty much crystal clear and beautiful. I mean, we even had snow one morning, 21 degrees in snow and 31 degrees, and most mornings were 40 degrees or under. But the air is so thin at 8,000 feet that it'd be 21 at 6 a.m. and 80 degrees by 2 p.m. So, I mean, the sun warms things up really quickly, and then it cools right back off as soon as the sun goes behind the mountains. But what a great experience. It was interesting to see all the weather posts, even from you guys. Hey, it's 95, it's 100, it's 106. And we are reading these things in 41-degree morning weather. It's crazy. So Potter Piper got to come in the lounge. We went in there just about every day and spent a few hours. So he got to meet my crew, my boys. Got to meet Dave, the guy who manages the tobacco lounge, the cigar lounge. And Dave, for all of 2024, has been finding me boxes of unobtainium cigars and putting them away for me. And he must have had somewhere between 20 and 30 boxes of just unobtainium. So I get them all racked up in the kind of his secret chamber of his humidor, and we got them purchased and got them all placed in the big humidor in Wyoming. So we will do a humidor review for our cigar cellar next time we're in Wyoming, because it's pretty impressive. I mean, we just got the thing online in November. It is seasoned quite nicely now, and already have quite a nice stash, not because of me, but because of Dave. So it's nice to have a guy who's kind of a tier one dealer for most products. He gets notices of these one-off boxes, and he can get maybe two of them, and pretty much I'm number one on the list. So anytime he gets a strange unobtainium box, he sets it aside for me. It's also nice too because Tobacco Row is now a Davidoff. It's called a bar account, so it's a tier 2 account, but he gets all the nice stuff. It's just its pricing isn't as good as it could be, but it's nice. You can walk into Tobacco Row in Jackson and get pretty much even any Davidoff product you want. So that is a nice addition. He's also trying to upgrade his relationship with C&D. If he makes a few changes, he'll get the rare small batch sent right to him. So we might have a direct pipeline there, and that's largely because of Potter Piper. Potter Piper had a long conversation with Dave about his tobacco, his pipe tobacco, and Dave has decided to try and upgrade what he offers. So that's really nice. Here's Sasha. She's doing great. She misses Jilly, that's for sure. That was the first thing she did every morning, was sit and wait next to Potter Piper's door, waiting for Jilly to come out and play. So that was kind of fun. Now she bothers these guys. Where is she? Try to do this with a stick on. They're starting to dig already. That's good. Two older ones not caring. They're like, "Hey, Dad, it's 100 degrees out here. What are we doing?" These two are definitely air conditioning dogs.